My fiancé left me for a perfect, younger woman because our spark was gone. Then he came begging for me back after I found my self-worth, plus an update. I know it's probably hard to believe, given how pathetic I sound right now. But before this happened, I really felt like a confident and content human being. Almost all of my current friends are mutual friends with my ex-fiancé, so I don't want to embroil them in this drama or compel anyone to choose sides. I'm hoping this sounds coherent, as I've currently locked myself in a conference room and shut the blinds so no one can see me cry as I type this. I was with my ex-fiancé for 7 years. He is the only romantic partner I've ever truly loved. I was completely, head over heels in love with him. Even now, after all this, I still feel that way about him. He is charming, goofy, kind, quick-witted, interesting, ambitious, and gorgeous. We got engaged 2 years ago, but we're not in a rush to get married. About a year ago, we began to seriously contemplate trying for a baby. We had lived together happily for 6 years. We had done all the traveling and partying we wanted to in our 20s, and we were excited to start our family. Over the next 6 months, he was much busier than normal, but I didn't think anything was wrong. I did my best to alleviate any extra stress he had, even though I was experiencing some extra pressure at work too. I took over all the housework and errands, helped him organize and pack for trips, and was just understanding when he would work very late or need to leave for a week or two. We didn't spend as much time together during that period, and I missed him a lot, but I thought we were still happy. When the 6 months were over, our schedules reverted back to normal. I felt relieved, until I started to notice him becoming more distant, despite the fact that we finally had more time together. He started going on his phone more frequently when we were together and seemed to be more protective of it. I'm not a jealous person and I trusted him completely, so I didn't think much of it. Then one day, after another month had passed, I brought up the topic of trying for a baby as we had discussed. I could immediately tell something was wrong. He was quiet for a while, and then he unleashed a flood. He said he was unhappy with our relationship and had been for some time. He said that he cared about me deeply, but that the spark in our relationship had died. He tried to convince himself he could live without that spark, but had ultimately decided that he couldn't. He said I had done nothing wrong and was, in fact, the perfect partner. But that didn't change the fact that he couldn't shake this nagging feeling that I was the one for him. He said that he didn't want to hurt me, but that he couldn't condemn himself to a lifetime of settling for someone that wasn't his dream girl, even though he didn't know if his dream girl existed. He said he was sorry, but he couldn't live a lie anymore. I don't think I said a single word as he was telling me all this, because I just felt so utterly shocked and blindsided. I just stood there, staring and listening and crying silently. When he finished, all I could utter was something like, "Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't know, do you still love me?" He paused for a while and then said that he loved me, but wasn't in love with me anymore. We proceeded to spend the whole night discussing his feelings and our relationship, until we were both so exhausted we couldn't cry anymore and the sun was coming up. He said he was sorry again and that it was probably best if he stayed at a friend's place. So he packed up some stuff and left. That was about 5 months ago. We never really talked in person again. His brother and his best friend came over that weekend to get the rest of his stuff, and I just left while they were packing because I couldn't stand to be there. I felt so shocked and numb and traumatized and tired that I didn't even cry much. I couldn't really process what was happening as I went through the motions of moving out and explaining the situation to my family. When I finally moved into my new place and sat alone with my boxes, I completely broke down. I could not stop crying and dry heaving. I ended up using 5 vacation days to take off a week of work, which really irked my manager. I could not get out of bed. I barely ate, living off this old tub of peanut butter. I looked through all our old pictures and tried to figure out where it all went wrong. For the next 4 months, I tried my best to move on. I deleted all my social media apps so I wouldn't have to see him. I dove into work. I ramped up my hobbies. I exercised to keep my mind occupied. I met with friends and family and pretended everything was okay. I started going to my therapist again, which helped a bit. I finally thought I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. Then a month ago, I ran into a mutual friend from college. She said it was really sad to see we weren't together anymore, and surprising to see he'd moved on so fast. I told her I wasn't keeping up with him anymore, but that I was doing okay. When I got home, even though I knew it was a terrible idea, I re-downloaded Instagram and went to his profile. His latest picture was him at his cousin's wedding with his arm around a gorgeous girl. All the old pictures of him and I were gone. Again, I knew it was a terrible, self-destructive idea, but I went to the girl's profile and Googled her. She is literally a younger, smarter, prettier, and better version of myself. We both studied at the same university, but she completed a prestigious program which I was rejected from. We both have green eyes and brown hair, but she is far prettier and legitimately looks like a model. We are both thin and fit, but she has an amazing hourglass figure, looks far more stylish than me, and has tens of thousands of followers even though she's not an influencer. In fact, we both work at the same company, but she landed a job in a prestigious division right out of undergrad and likely makes more money than me. She is an improved version of me, 7 years younger, and the love of my life is dating her. For the past month, I've been spiraling. I can't stop stalking my ex-fiancé and this girl. I look at her Instagram every day and torture myself with her gorgeous pictures. She's posted a dozen pictures with my ex over the past few months, and he looks so happy, healthy, and fit. They've gone on trips together, he's brought her to his hometown, and he's even posted a picture of them with a mushy caption, which he never did when we were together. I have no evidence, but I now suspect he was at least interested in her while we were still together. I'm so paranoid of running into them. I know that my behavior is obsessive and masochistic. I've deleted Instagram and told myself I'm not going to do this anymore, only to wake up the next day, re-download the app, and do it again. My therapist has been trying to help, but I just cannot move past this. I'm stuck in this mental loop of self-loathing and self-pity, this crazy mix of extreme sadness and latent anger. I feel so incredibly low. Worthless, used up, discarded, and suddenly, so incredibly old. I know that comparison is the thief of joy. I know that I am objectively still young enough to move on. I know that social media is a highlight reel, and their relationship may not be perfect. But none of this knowledge helps soften the fact that I thought by this time this year, I would be pregnant with the love of my life. Instead, I'm alone, and he's found someone better. Please, if you've ever experienced something similar, share your words of wisdom. I just feel so worthless and alone. Update. Hi again, everyone. It's been about 3 months since I posted about my struggle. While I cringe when I think about the pathetic state I was in when I wrote that post, sobbing alone in that conference room, I was stunned by the empathetic and helpful advice I received. These past few months have been an absolute roller coaster, and I thought I owed you all an update. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, here's what happened. The night I made that post, I finally blocked my ex-fiancé and his girlfriend on Instagram, as many of you suggested. I think actually verbalizing how obsessive my behavior was and feeling validated by your comments clicked something in my brain. I resolved to break out of that self-destructive loop. It was an incredible relief not to be constantly looking at their pictures and to finally give myself some time to heal. That weekend, I decided to reconnect with my family and friends and stop pretending that I was handling the breakup flawlessly. They were incredibly compassionate, and it was like I had instantly rebuilt my support network. I didn't realize how emotionally isolated I had become until I was able to be honest with people in my life. I started making fun plans again, getting out of the house for brunches, hikes, and shows, which was incredibly beneficial for my mental health. I also decided to try out another therapist. My new therapist is incredibly compatible with me and has helped considerably with addressing the roots of my insecurities. If you are struggling with therapy, I highly recommend shopping around for a therapist who is a better fit. Another popular suggestion was finding a job at another company. I didn't think it was possible, but I started searching. Then, out of the blue, someone in my division quit, and the company decided to hire internally. After 5 or 6 rounds of interviews, I got the job. It came with a much better salary and more consistent hours, and I finally have an office. It's tiny, but I really enjoy it. The only downside was that I would still be working in the same building as my ex. Then, just before Christmas, the moment I'd been dreading came. I ran into my ex as I was leaving the office. We exchanged a few pleasantries, and he complimented my new haircut. I thanked him, wished him well, and said I had to hurry to catch my train. I was so nervous that I was almost shaking. But on the commute home, I calmed down and thought, hey, that wasn't so bad. He looked good, but I didn't feel a rush of sadness or desire. I mostly just felt awkward, like we'd become strangers again. I felt like at last, I was really moving forward. The next day, I woke up to a dozen messages from my ex-fiancé. They started at around 2 in the morning, and I'm guessing he was a bit drunk. They were all long walls of text. He wrote that he hadn't been able to stop thinking about me since we ran into each other. He was sad that we weren't friends anymore because I still felt like his best friend, and he regretted how everything went down. He said he questioned if he'd made a huge mistake in a moment of weakness and messed up his whole life. He apparently noticed that I'd blocked him on Instagram and said that made him really sad. I gathered from his messages that he'd likely broken up with the woman I'd seen on his Instagram. He said he felt like he had been searching for some ideal woman who doesn't exist, and that he wanted to reignite our spark after failing to find that same spark with other people. It was shocking to read his texts. Part of me wanted to give him another chance, but after taking a day to think about it, I felt like he was less sorry that he'd lost me, and more sorry that the greener pastures he sought weren't as green as he'd imagined. I tried to respond kindly but firmly. I said that I treasured our relationship, but I could no longer trust him. I told him how hurt I felt when he blindsided me, and that as long as he thought something crucial was missing from our relationship, then we probably weren't meant to be. I wished him the best. He didn't respond. I was a bit shaken by the whole thing, but I went on to enjoy my holiday break. I even decided to go to my friend's New Year's Eve party. Well, I'm so glad I went, because I ended up meeting a wonderful man there. He's funny, intelligent, cute, and compassionate, and he is also eager to settle down and have kids. We've gone on 3 dates so far, and they've been the best dates of my life. We want to take it slow since we were both in long-term relationships a year ago, but we've been stunned by how compatible we are. I'm trying not to be overly confident, but I'm also super excited to see where it goes. So, thanks in large part to the advice I received here, I've emerged from a very dark place and am now cautiously optimistic about my future for the first time in a long time.